And we're live. Welcome to MI Live, Daily Nutrition Talk Show. I am Jay. With me as always is Brad. And today we're just doing a Q&A. You have questions, ask them. We will get to them. I didn't feel like writing show notes or coming up with anything creative, so this is what you guys get.
You have questions, we may have answers.
We may. I don't. We probably won't. Let's
and
not
those
lie.
answers that we may or may not have may or may not be correct.
Yeah, no, those I'm going to go with they probably won't be.
This is like, what is the exact line from Who's Line Anyway?
Everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah.
Ambra's here, as always. Hello, Ambra. What kind of horse is that in your profile picture on Facebook, Ambra?
Big dark one.
A big dark one.
Yeah.
It's a smaller horse. I bet you it's a quarter horse.
My wife's family raised Pertrins.
Ooh.
They were very big. I saw them once.
Yeah.
They were huge.
Oh my God. So Brad, how was your weekend?
Let's see. What did I do? Friday, I took my dogs for a hike after work. Saturday, I went to a very small family wedding. Yesterday, I grocery shopped and went to the gym. And then I watched a movie on Netflix and then went to bed.
Oh, exciting.
Well, not Netflix. Maybe it was Amazon Prime or one of those things.
What movie?
Do you really want to know?
No, but everybody else does.
I'm forced my wife to watch the newer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie.
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I watched Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday night.
Dude, isn't that movie way better than you were expecting?
I mean, it was better than I was expecting, but it wasn't good.
Great.
No,
Sonic was awesome in that movie.
No, it was
a fabulous movie.
No,
it was not a great movie, but it was a great movie.
It was not. I would not watch it again. As far as kids' movies go, it was okay. But I would not. If I didn't have a 10-year-old who wanted to watch it, I would not have watched it.
I thought Jim Carrey did a pretty good job as Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jim Carrey, so that made it. Amber's horse is half quarter, half Arab. I was half right.
Do we have? Let me just look up, see if there's any exciting things in the nutrition world today.
There is. You didn't hear?
Oh.
Wow, you're out of the loop.
Well, it is only 7 a.m. my time.
You're really out of loop. I've only had one energy drink today, and I've been up since 4, and it's 9. That's the new exciting news.
That's the news, the nutrition news that I should know about?
Yeah, but I'm on my second cup of coffee.
Oh, I didn't know you were a coffee person.
I used to hate energy drinks and only drink coffee.
Oh.
I would drink like 2 pots a day.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I was at firehouses. That's all that you have around.
I feel like you have your late night radio DJ voice on right now.
I'm really tired. I did not sleep.
What? Why are you tired?
I didn't sleep.
Huh.
Anybody have any questions? Because otherwise, I got things I can do. I can get that out of here.
We probably have lots of things we can talk about.
Okay, give me something to talk about. And not Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, that's a little aggressive. I'm just looking at what is in the most recent issue of the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition.
I'm going to go with.
Here's a paper.
People eat a lot. People eat. I know I do. My wife made fried rice, and that's my favorite thing that she makes. And it's her mom's recipe, and it's like the best fried rice in the world. And she made it. And then everybody had like one bowl, and then I got up and ate the entire like big giant pan of it, and then I got in trouble for eating everybody's food.
There are 5 very good articles here. I'm just going to briefly skim through them for you.
Okay.
Let's go to the next one because that one was kind of boring. Effect of dairy consumption and its fat content on glycemic control and cardiovascular disease risk factors in patients with type 2 diabetes.
That's not interesting.
Yes, it is.
Not to me.
So basically, in patients with type 2 diabetes, if you consume at least 3 servings or more regardless of whether it's high fat or low fat, and you maintain energy intake, so there's not extra calories coming in, it's no worse for you than like fat-free milk or fat-free dairy.
Wait, say that one more time.
So if
I was half listening.
So if you consume a lot of dairy versus little to no dairy, it's no worse for you if you have type 2 diabetes.
Oh, was there a thought that it was?
People say it all the time. Don't eat dairy, it's bad for you.
I've heard that, but I never heard it relating to type 2 diabetes.
Here's two important ones. This one's out of Luke Van Loon's lab.
Oh, of course. Luke Van Loon.
Dose response effects of dietary protein on muscle protein synthesis during recovery from exercise in young men. A double-blind, randomized trial.
What'd they find?
I'm trying to read this.
Read faster.
Ingestion of 30 grams of protein is sufficient to maximize muscle protein synthesis rates during recovery from a single bout of endurance exercise. Yeah.
Didn't we know that?
Yeah, this was kind of a little more of a higher resolution type of study.
No. Yeah. We have a question from Leanne. When will the app be ready for beta testing? Have testers been chosen? I could see the eye roll, the annoyance, not with Leanne's question, with app development in your face.
Well, to be honest, I'm trying to get a test version uploaded onto my iPhone so I can test it in test flight before I have other people do it. And I have to call Apple.
What?
Because it's like you have to register and you get all this stuff and then you have to call them. And every time I go to call them, it's like they're not open. So I've been trying to get a hold of them. So I'm hoping in the next week. So that's on my to-do.
When I've used Test Flight for stuff, I just downloaded and installed demo apps and stuff.
Yeah, no, but I mean, so from a developer account, like we submitted our developer account package.
Yeah.
For them to like authorize you to upload your first version, you have to call and verify who you are.
Really? When I did that it was years ago. Maybe they've changed it. When I did it years ago with a EKG program that I had developed, it was just register my account online and good to go.
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
Well, that's annoying.
It is very annoying.
Somebody said I was in a challenge about 8. So Leanne, the answer to that question is
soon, but not like tomorrow.
Yeah. Somebody in our Facebook group said I was in a challenge about 8 months ago at my gym. In the nutrition portion, they recommended avoiding dairy. Why would they do this?
Because people do crazy things all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of because it fits they were told that once.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of intellectual tropes that have been put out there for that. Like people have said, "Oh, we're the only animals that consume milk, so it's not good for us. Dairy is insulinogenic, so it's not good for us. Dairy is high fat, so it's not good for us. Dairy is immunogenic, so it's not good for us." All those arguments have been put out there, and for the most part, most people don't really have any issues with dairy.
Yeah, the other animals don't consume other animals' milk. One, that's not true, but two, I think it's my favorite counter to that is all other animals smell each other's poop too. So I don't know if I really want to just judge what I do based off the other creatures. It just doesn't seem.
We're also the only people who have built rockets and gone to the moon. So.
That's not true. I believe that the dolphin overlords, before we banished them to the ocean, did that too. So let's not
on this episode of
of conspiracy theory lives. So for anybody who doesn't know, I like conspiracy theories. Not that I believe most of them. Some of them they're just super interesting, and I think that a lot of them have. I think that there's truth in some of them, like the moon landing ones. I really do believe we did go to the moon, but I firmly believe that we did have a studio set aside in case we didn't make it, and they were going to do that. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It makes sense.
Now that's a theory I could maybe get behind. I have to see some evidence of that.
Right. Yeah, I have no evidence behind it, but it makes sense to me. Like, hey, we're in the middle of this Cold War. If these guys die on the moon, I also believe that the broadcast was significantly delayed, and they did not tell us that because they didn't know what was going to happen.
Like, how significantly delayed?
A couple hours.
Really?
Yeah, I think that they had backup actors in a studio ready to go at that time if something went wrong. Could you imagine though if they would have stepped on the moon and like in a suit would have depressurized on national television in the 60s? That would not have been something that would have.
So my singular counterpoint, which I sort of think maybe deflates your whole argument.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. This is not something that I hold dear to my heart. It's just a fun theory that I like to play with. So you won't get a lot of argument from me.
We did witness the Challenger blow up.
Correct. Different era though. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to hide something that's in your atmosphere versus something on a different planet.
Yeah, I don't
know. What if they got to the moon and like there were Russians running around on there and they're like, oh no, and then they didn't want anybody to see it?
Wasn't that like a James Bond movie?
Yeah,
like Moonraker or something
like that. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is going on to the deep end.
Yeah, well, nobody's asking questions. Dante said, "Good vibes, studying right now, so I can't hear, but I'm still on the live." Well, thank you, Dante. He can see his name up on the screen. Somebody else user, somebody from our group said,
"Newbie."
They're a newbie. Don't judge. I want to grow muscle. Now I'm 160 pounds. I don't know how to get a macro range.
I would go into our Facebook group, which you can find at macrosinc.net/free group or facebook.com/group/macrosinc, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Macrosinc group.
And you can ask this question and you will get a very specific answer. But here's just what I would roughly recommend is put all your information into our calculator. Make sure your protein is somewhere around 140 to 160 grams per day. And you're at roughly a 300 to 500 calorie a day surplus. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Let's talk about more conspiracy theories.
Okay. Here's a conspiracy theory for you.
Okay.
It's from this most recent issue of the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition.
Okay.
So they did a study and they looked at mycoprotein, which is a fungal-derived sustainable protein-rich food source. And they compared it to like a whey protein, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
A milk protein. Now, if you had to guess which one was better for follicular synthesis rate, or fractional synthesis rate, which is a measure of muscle protein synthesis.
The fungus.
Isn't that crazy? It was.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
Why would it make sense to you?
Because funguses grow fast.
Did you know funguses are among us?
Oh my God. That was a good one.
I'm trying to see how much greater it was.
7.
What? This number makes no sense. Oh, I see. So reading this more in depth, I think part of the problem with this study is the starting value for the mycoprotein group was a little bit lower. So I would say it's maybe slightly better, but this data doesn't really tell us that specifically.
The real problem that I saw is that they don't tell you that when you ingest that mycoprotein, it turns you into a zombie. They left that part of the paper out.
I am very curious if zombieism is possible.
I could see a parasite.
Well, like toxoplasmosis is as close to real life zombies as we get.
Mm-hmm. Right. But I could see. So when I was a paramedic, do you remember when
zombies took over the world? No, I do not remember that.
No. Do you remember when it was like it was right when like Walking Dead came out that there was you probably don't remember the reason, but do you remember there were like incidents across the country of people like attacking each other and like eating and like biting them and eating them?
No,
do you remember that? It was like it was like the second season. I only remember it because I had a call for one while we were watching a marathon of The Walking Dead at the firehouse, and people were taking synthetic marijuana. They were smoking it, and it was or synthetic drugs. Yeah, and it was some.
Is that stuff called Flocka?
There's a bunch of different names for it. It was K2 is what we always knew it was, but it would cause people to freak out and they would like bite each other and like eat their faces. And we were watching a Walking Dead marathon. And we got called for a guy who ingested an unknown substance and was walking. I think the call was walking around his house like a mummy. And we got there and this guy was super stiff. And my partner, who was like 19, this guy came around the corner and walking like a zombie. And he goes, "Ah, zombie," and like ran out of the house. It was quite funny. But yeah, bath salt, same thing. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
what do you think the macros for humans are? We looked this up. Remember that?
We did. Yeah, I do remember that. Depends on the human.
I know that does depend on the human.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want a free. I wouldn't want a free range human. I want my human just in their house, minimal activity, like veal.
Do you want it
This conversation is going way out of control. I'm just gonna stop it now. What else?
Up more recent
data on human meat. Brad.
Yes.
What is, if you had to make one recommendation for a blanket statement for people to make to their diet, one thing that you were just like, this is what people should be doing for their diet, what would it be? And it can be for weight loss, overall health, anything.
Pay attention to it.
Pay attention to your diet.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a study or multiple studies done that simply not even measuring or writing quantity, just writing down the items that you eat throughout a day can lead to weight loss because you have a better understanding of what you're eating?
Yes. Factuals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've done that where I'll just take a note of what I've eaten through. Like if I'm hungry at night, I'll just write down, like if I didn't track that day, I'll just write down everything that I ate, or just look at my food list and be like, holy cow, I ate a lot. I don't need a snack tonight. Isn't
it weird? It's kind of like when you track your spending.
Who does that?
I don't know.
This
most recent edition of Cell Metabolism looks pretty interesting too.
You're an interesting edition of Cell Metabolism.
I know. Like in-hospital use of statins is associated with a reduced risk of mortality among individuals with COVID-19. That's interesting. Omics-driven systems interrogation of metabolic dysregulation in COVID-19 pathogenesis.
You use so many words that I didn't understand in that sentence.
Omics-driven, which means like large data. So you're like doing like transcriptomics, so you're measuring all of the RNA. Metabolomics, you're measuring the entire metabolome, etc. Okay. Systems interrogation means they use a bunch of fancy math to try to figure out what's interconnected.
So it's not strapping a virus down to a chair and playing good cop, bad cop.
No, but we could do that.
Okay.
That would be very interesting. That reminds me, we when I was in graduate school, I had to take a course in qualitative research, which if you're a very like quantitatively driven, very like hardcore basic science person, qualitative research will drive you absolutely nutty because it just makes no sense. It's like I apologize to anybody who's a qualitative researcher here, and I'm going to butcher this, but you basically just like you look at things and you're like, try to find connections. And
that sounds like the perfect job for me.
Oh my God.
That sounds exactly like what I should be doing with my life.
So we had to do a qualitative research report or a research proposal. And I tried to see if I could convince my professor as a joke, if I could ask my cells questions that were in my dish.
Oh my God. Is that like the number of, what was it? The number of pool drownings per year that correlate to the number of movies
Nicolas Cage films
that Nicolas Cage has been in? Yeah. Is that the same style thing where you're trying to find a reason? I mean, you're trying to find valid reasons, not that one, but
yeah,
same premise.
Sort of, yeah.
That is exactly what I want. I'm Brad. So I quit and I am going to go just do that. And my goal is to connect conspiracy theories for the rest of my life.
Okay. That's fair.
All right. Tasha said, so if you are working in a deficit, how important is it to reach your macros every day, even if you're not hungry? It depends. If you are very, very under your macros, like if you're not hungry, don't force yourself to eat. If you're going to be under your macros, make sure you're hitting protein every day, and carbs and fats you can kind of be under. But if you're significantly under, you might need to rearrange things. There might be tracking issues. Typically, when in a decent sized deficit, you should be hungry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're 100 calories under every day, 200, okay, not a big deal. But if you are 500-600 calories over, there's something's not right. Most likely, there's a tracking error. The other problem is you have a lot of people who eat really, really voluminous food, and they're getting full, but they're need to switch over to some more hyper palatable food. And the other thing to remember is if you're dieting down to lose on, let's say you're dieting on 1,200 calories and that's new for you, and you're like, I can't eat this much. Something isn't right because you were eating more than that prior to dieting, because you did get up to a weight, right? We gained weight. So you were eating more than that at some point. So there might be a tracking error. Sometimes we're just not hungry. That is completely possible. But if it's a regular occurrence and you're significantly under, there's some sort of issue.
Well, there you go.
And she is making protein, but not carbs and fats. So
that's ideal.
Yep. Any other questions? Ask questions. Yes. Because what's your question?
Deporah wanted to know, how was Macros Inc. founded?
Where do you see that? Oh. What? Stop hitting the buttons. I hate you. How was Macros Inc. founded? Brad Morgan and myself. Brad Morgan was an admin in another nutrition group. I was in there all the time. We did not like the person who ran the group, who owned the group. And then we started first we did not like the guy who ran the group, and we kind of were talking about doing things on our own. And then we started compiling frequently asked questions so we wouldn't have to type them anymore. And we just put it together, and that was the original NutriWiki. So we just had this FAQ, and then as we built that up, we wanted more control of the group. We couldn't get it. So we just decided we're going to start our own group and do this over there. We did that. And then within like a month or two, it turned into people asking us if we would coach them. We coached a lot of people for free for about a year. Brad Morgan, myself, Corey Robb, Kelly Carpenter was with us at the time. Dylan Miller came over shortly after. I think Dawn started pretty quick after that. Hannah came on, and then it became more of a paid. We were doing too much, so we had to start charging, and it just kind of spiraled out of control into the shit show you see today from there. So it started as a hobby and then just kind of blew up.
Next,
what is hyper palatable? Foods that taste really good, like high calorie, small foods. So think of things like cookies, a lot of calories in a very small thing, versus salad, which is really big and doesn't have a lot of calories.
If you only have one meal left for the day, but more than 40 grams of protein left, try to get it in or leave it at 40. I would say try to get some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to get all of it.
And it also comes back to how many calories do you have left, right? If you have one meal left and more than 40, could you have a meal, like let's say your last meal is a salad, or your last meal is spaghetti at dinner? Could you add an extra chicken breast in there? Could you also have a shake right before you go to bed?
Yeah. All I know is I cannot drink a protein shake right before I go to bed.
Really?
Do it. No.
I don't think there's anything that makes my stomach upset unless it's too much whiskey. Nothing's bugging me.
You would never do that. You're too responsible.
Yeah. Robert asked, does it matter if you consistently go over on protein if you're under on your calories?
Not really. I mean, I would say that's probably not ideal, because then you're starting to follow a different plan. And then your plan isn't actually the plan that was set for you. But if you're a little bit over, it's not a big problem.
And then Robert apologized for the caps because he yelled that whole message at us. Sorry for not reading it appropriately.
You can be excited about a Monday.
Nobody's excited about. So okay, so Robert's excited about Mondays because he's yelling at us, and now we know who to watch because Robert's the odd one out. Who's excited? Does anybody get excited about Mondays?
Sounds like someone's got a case of the Mondays.
I mean, I can't think of a reason. I mean, okay, oh yeah, I get like kids. Okay, I'm back in school, but like you get to see your friends. Like, is that like even if you love your job, nobody wants to go to work.
That's not true.
No, come on. I love my job, but you know what I love more?
Cheetos.
Doing something else, right? Yeah, Cheetos. Yeah, eating Cheetos. You know, everybody, even if you love your job, you still there's still things you'd rather do. I'd rather sit at home on the couch and watch TV. Like it just seems.
Dude, I can't do that.
And it's like it's still you're like far away from a payday.
That's true.
Like I can't think of a positive thing about Monday. And then you
what
get to hear
like got paid every day instead of once a week or once a month.
That would be awful.
I know.
Could you imagine that little breakdown? I mean, once a week has its plus and minuses. Every other week has its everything, but every day would be horrible. Could you?
Because then you're like, God, look at what I traded today for. $4.07.
Yeah. Right. I also think Monday is the worst day because it's the most stressful in the news cycle because you go to work, you talk to friends and family that you didn't talk to over the weekend, and then you get reminded of all the crappy things going on in the world that you heard over the weekend and processed right, and you process them again.
That's why people just know at this point in my life, unless it's a cool science thing, I don't want to hear about it.
I don't know that in your life.
If it's not related to science stuff, Formula One stuff on Monday, or a cool sports event, I just don't really care.
So is that a hint to me to stop telling you about all the things that I bring?
No, I don't care. But I'm just like, people are like, he probably won't care. And I'm like, that's right.
I will always assume you care, Brad.
Ancient Mars had planet-wide rainstorms so intense they breached its lakes? I doubt that.
Let's see. Christine Richards said, Dr. Brad, my blood work is showing low testosterone, and I am trying to build muscle. What would you recommend to increase the testosterone slightly naturally?
The first thing is, so circulating levels of testosterone don't correlate super well with ability to build muscle tissue. So I would say just make sure that's not some red herring that's kind of mentally putting you in oh my God, I can't build muscle when my testosterone's low. So just kind of planting that flag. The second one is really the best ways to increase testosterone naturally are sleeping, making sure you're not in a calorie deficit, managing stress, training appropriately.
Okay. Yeah, naturally. Okay. Yeah, naturally. I was gonna say I could think of other ones, but
there was a very important word in that sentence.
Yeah, naturally. Does alcohol stall progress, Brad?
The default answer here, I always tell people yes. Alcohol per se by itself in moderation does not. But the problem is most of the time it's really empty calories that generally tend to lead to poor food choices. And that's what derails progress. So I tell people it's like you have your whole life to consume alcohol from 21 until you die. When there's periods where you're really just trying to lose weight, like maybe just limit it as much as you can. Because nobody wants to be dieting longer than they have to. And if consuming alcohol on a daily or weekly basis kind of maybe sets you back a half a day because you make other food choices, just let's get through the dieting as quick as we can and then move on.
Yeah, and I will add in there like the alcohol thing. Like, I mean, I come from like an industry prior to this, like fireman drink. I think that's a known thing. And like that was all my social circles, all my social life was going to bars, hanging out with friends and drinking. People come over. It was never a let's go do this. It's a where are we going that we can get, like, are we going somewhere? Do they have alcohol? And if they don't, you bring your own. And when I started really dieting, that was probably one of the harder things to do. But the one thing I noticed is that nothing changed. I cut alcohol out. Moderation. I'd have like a drink at dinner, one drink if I was going out with a friend or something. But nothing else. It didn't change the enjoyment I had. I didn't miss anything. Nobody cared. And it saved me more money than I can actually like put into words.
Did you replace your drinks at the bar with hummus platters?
No, I'm not quite to your level of manliness yet, but I will get there one day.
I'm so funny.
Oh my God. Hannah said, side note, I just watched Monsters Inc. this weekend.
Mike Wachowski.
Oh my God. It amazes me how many children's movies you watch for not having children.
Dude, I watched Monsters Inc. in high school. We had a teacher who like one day.
No way. What year did
she was like, I don't really want to teach, so we're gonna watch Monsters Inc. So I was like,
what year did Monsters Inc. come out?
Oh God, it probably was
2001. Oh yeah. My God.
I was in 7th grade in 2001. Either 7th or 8th grade, depending on what time of 2001.
Oh my God. Well, that's why I was in high school, so that's why I didn't see it. But
yeah, so we used to have block days where it was like once a week you would have. It was like Monday, Tuesday, Friday you had 7 periods, and Wednesday, Thursday you had either 3 or 4, and they were like 2 hours long, right? They were like.
How do you remember this?
Dude, my brain is a steel trap. It forgets almost nothing except for my keys every day, but that's a different story. So this is a good story. So we were at my cousin's rehearsal dinner. And we were like walking into the restaurant, and I saw somebody who I had probably not seen for 18 years. And I was like, I knew exactly who they were. And I stopped them and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And I like knew exactly who it was. They're like, didn't I run into you like one time in the hospital? And I was like, yeah. It's very bizarre.
I played hockey with a guy for 12 years. 12 years.
And he didn't remember you?
No. I was a goalie. So I was out with a guy that I grew up with. We played hockey together, but not always on the same teams. And we were out one night, and we were adults. We were probably in our late 20s. And this guy came up and talked to me like he was my best friend. Like he knew me for years. I had no clue who this guy. I mean, he knew everything about me. No idea who he was. No clue. I just, oh yeah, good to see you. He left. I looked at my buddy. I go, who was it? He goes, dude, you played hockey with him for like 12 or 14, like your whole life. He grew up on our block. I'm like, I have no clue who this guy is. His name doesn't ring a bell still. No, I'm Facebook friends with him. No idea who he is. No clue.
So basically what you're telling me is if I don't text you every day, you'll forget who I am.
Yeah, you become irrelevant, and then it doesn't matter. Retired people, Robert. Retired people using caps lock. It's all right. My grandpa used to use some. I think
he was saying who gets excited for Mondays.
Oh, retired people. Oh, I thought he was talking about caps lock. So funny story about caps lock. My grandpa was starting to text on his phone. He would always text in caps with no period, with no punctuation. And I said, Grandpa, you're yelling when you do that. You can't text people like that. And he said, you'll know when I'm yelling because I'll come over to your house and yell at you in your face, you dumbass. That was my grandpa's response to his caps issue.
That's not very nice.
Yeah, no, it was actually very funny because my grandpa doesn't swear ever. So it was awesome. Leanne said, how much did you have to give Dr. Brad to leave his previous nutrition company he was affiliated with? I simply sent Brad shirtless selfies of myself every day until he joined.
That is the full story.
It was just harassment on my end until he caved.
The long story short was I left there and did some other work for a while and then came over here.
Yeah.
That's the long and the short of it. I ended up working for some lawyers or with some lawyers for a while. That was interesting.
And he sounded miserable every single day.
No, it wasn't bad. It was actually a pretty good experience, but I'm much gladder. I'm much gladder.
Much gladder.
I'm much gladder to be doing
because you love lawyers, right?
I generally really enjoy lawyers.
Are they watching right now? Is that what this is? People are watching you?
No, actually, it was actually a ton of fun there.
Time.
It was pretty awesome. We did play a lot of Mario Kart when I was working there.
Why is Mario Kart like everywhere I read right now? What is with this? Is there a new version coming?
Is there anything better than playing Mario Kart on N64?
I can name about 3,000 things.
0.
Eating Cheetos, sleeping, breathing, walking down the sidewalk.
Eating Cheetos is not great.
Maybe getting mugged. I don't know, like a lot of things.
I'm gonna send a guy to mug you.
Don't. I've been stabbed before. It's not something I want to.
No, he's literally gonna show up to your house and give you a mug.
Oh, okay. I don't. Raylene? Is that how you say that name?
Raylene.
Raylene, yeah. What's your thoughts on carb cycling? I did carb cycling when I hit a plateau and got down to my goal weight. Now, a year later, I'm in that same plateau. I want to gain muscle. Any recommendations on what I can do?
Yeah, I think carb cycling is generally useful for people who are trying to lose weight and still maintain some level of performance, because you can have higher carbohydrate days around higher training days. But in and of itself, there doesn't appear to be anything magical about carb cycling for weight loss. Just mostly from like recovery from high performance or high volume training days. So I would say that's that. So now if you're trying to put on body weight, gaining muscle, carb cycling can make it very difficult because you just don't have a consistent stream of calories coming in.
You're a consistent stream of calories.
I wish I was.
Joan said not being able to exercise due to a recent injury. I'm already in a calorie deficit. I subtracted 700 from my total number. It's not helping. Should I lower carbs or fats?
I mean, if you really were at maintenance and you subtracted 700 calories and you haven't lost weight yet, I would say give it a couple weeks. And if you're still not losing, depending on what your total daily calorie intake is, I would maybe think about starting to see if you can walk more or do something that's a little bit more energy expenditure. So even if you're injured, but you can find ways to expend calories, I would do that.
Yeah, and the other thing is you might, depending on the injury, calorie surpluses help healing. You might not want to be in too big of a deficit while you're recovering.
Yeah.
Coach Aesthetics, we haven't seen you in a while. It said, due to a very hectic schedule, I drink 3 shakes and 1 solid meal. I get 1 gram protein per day. I'm assuming that's gram per pound of body weight. Protein per day. And I'm eating at maintenance. My goal is to maintain body fat percentage and build some muscle. Is drinking my calories fine, or is it necessary to eat them?
It's fine to drink them.
Yeah.
Your jaw might get weak.
Is that a true statement, or are you making a joke?
No, I'm actually not kidding.
Oh.
Like if you just drink shakes for 10 years, I mean, it's fine if it's in the short term, but I would try to tell people, like, there is also something to chewing your food over the long haul.
Masticating.
Yes.
Mario Kart on N64 was the best. No.
Yes, it was.
GoldenEye was the best.
You know what's really funny? So when I was a kid, I played GoldenEye all the time, and you just it was a normal game.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you went and you played Halo, and you had the 2 thumbsticks.
Yeah.
And you try to go back and play GoldenEye, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's like,
yep.
What is going on? I can't figure this out.
Yeah, you can't rotate the same. Well, you would use the pads on the right, the arrow pads on the right on the N64 controller turn.
To strafe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like really weird. Do you remember, I think it was in the laboratory or one of those levels on GoldenEye, where if you went into the bathroom stall in the toilet and you were and you spun in a circle, it would put you in the ceiling and you could come out behind people and kill them.
Yes.
Awesome.
What a weird controller that an N64 controller was too. Like who
was also the best controller.
I mean, but who that would never make it today's gaming because you'd have to switch too fast. Like with that third spike in the middle, that wouldn't, I don't know. What a weird design.
You know what other game I am very good at?
What?
Super Smash Brothers on 64.
I don't think I've ever played Super Smash Brothers.
That might have been my best God-gifted ability with Smash Bros. I was very good at it. We used to play I had a friend in 5th grade or something, and we would go do all-nighters, and we would play tournaments of Super Smash Bros. Where you would start with 99 lives, and there'd be 4 players, and the last man standing would win. And it would take forever.
Yeah, that sounds like it would take a long time.
It was pretty awesome, though.
You're pretty awesome, though.
What are you doing?
What?
I feel like you're doing other things other than having this conversation.
I was looking at my calendar to see how many people I had to interview today.
Oh,
we were talking about Super Smash Brothers and said it'd be pretty awesome in your big giant tournament for Super Smash Brothers. I heard everything you said. Don't worry, Boo. I listen. Oh, wait, you're one. Hold on. Did you just
Awesome.
lecture me on doing something else? Like I'm on a video.
I didn't lecture. I was just asking the question.
Brett, you will look at a different monitor than the other thing, and we can see the screen in your glasses half the time.
What am I looking at now?
Oh, Bradley. So, anybody else have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but we are launching the NutraWiki course.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, I decided we're going to scrap it. The work done on it wasn't quality, and it wasn't worth anybody's time.
September 15th is the launch date. We will be pushing out a opt-in link for that today, so you can get on the email list.
Ooh, fancy schmancy.
For when it goes live. I have all of the content written and edited. I have most of the lectures done and recorded. I'm going to sneeze. I guess I'm allergic to this course. And what else do I have left to do to like finalize everything? I have to make the quizzes and I have to send the lectures out to be transcribed. So the course will have 6 modules. There will be written content, lectures, transcribed audio, and there will also be just a full audio book for the course. The way I recorded all the lectures was each slide has its own audio piece. So I will be compiling them all into a singular audio file that will be an audiobook. So you can watch it, read it, listen to it, read the transcription, take the quizzes, interact in the Facebook group we'll be building for it. And we'll probably even make like, oh, I just got a great idea.
What is that?
You know how everybody like makes apparel and like shaker bottles and all sorts of stuff? I just had the best idea.
No.
What if we got those temporary tattoos for the NutraWiki course logo?
What if we just got real tattoos?
No, but how awesome would that be? If everybody who signed up got like a pack of...
I have a real one though.
I know, but wouldn't that be awesome if everybody just got like a pack of like the lick and stick tattoos?
Lick and stick tattoos. Yeah. Is that going to be the name of your adult nightclub?
The lick and stick?
Yeah.
That would actually be pretty funny.
That'd be like I just want to open one up just so we can call it.
That was like last week on Wednesday when Mike was on, and you were you had to take care of Lisa who had a dentist appointment, so you couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Yep, it's just Mike and I. Jay's off doing adult stuff." And Mike was like, well, "What kind of adult stuff?" And I was like, "Oh my god."
Oh yeah, no. She had an implant put in, and then the sedative that they gave her, she proceeded to run out of the dentist office when I went to pick her up. She just ran out the front door and then ran around the parking lot. Then on the way home, just stared at the dashboard the entire way, got home, cried for 5 minutes because she said I yelled at her the whole way where there was no words spoken, and then got out of the car and proceeded to run around the front yard and then went upstairs and just passed out. It was a very interesting day at my house.
I mean, that seems fairly reasonable.
Yeah, no, it was. And then Liam looks at me and he goes, what's wrong with mom? Why is she I'm like, she took some medication, and all you hear, she was sound asleep. All you hear her yell out of the bedroom, and she is so out of it, and she doesn't remember, she yells, "I'm on drugs," and then just falls asleep. I'm like, oh my God. Prescription medication. You're on prescription.
The stuff that they give you for like when I had my wisdom teeth out, I was so crazy afterwards.
Yeah, no, it was well worth it. The videos and pictures that I have, I was threatened within an inch of my life if I released them to anybody.
Yeah,
definitely didn't send any to Brad.
We do have a couple pictures or
couple questions. Leanne says she's excited for your course, Coach Aesthetics.
That makes one person who's excited. If the several billion months I spent doing this and how many people I had to beg to help me, and only a couple people actually helped me. If people don't love it, I'll just curl up in a ball and cry. So
okay,
that's that. Coach Aesthetics said, "I'm 128 pounds, 5'7". I can see a 4-pack abdominals. Do you think I should focus on building muscle or losing fat?" I would probably focus on building muscle.
Yeah, 5'7", 128. That's fairly lean.
That's even less than the rap song. 5'7", 139 pounds. You know those rap lyrics?
Brad's going to take a break for a little while. He may be back. He needs to go sit in his corner. Did you learn your lesson?
Yeah, I was just saying they haven't lived up to the rap lyrics, so I think they should build muscle.
Okay, I agree. I would go into a bulking phase at this point. Yeah. 5'7", 120 is pretty lean.
Yeah.
What supplements do you suggest, Brad?
I suggest a very well-rounded diet, and then I would probably suggest a solid whey protein, creatine, probably a vitamin D for most people.
How about collagen proteins?
I'd probably recommend collagen protein for most people. And I'd probably also recommend a multivitamin for most people, based on new research that's come out in the last couple of years. Of if you look at what the prevalence of vitamin and mineral insufficiencies are amongst the wider population, even in the United States, and then you compare that with what it would be if you took a multivitamin every day, most of the evidence suggests that a multivitamin probably isn't going to make you substantially healthier, but it will kind of be an insurance policy against potential nutrient deficiencies or insufficiencies.
Brad, I have a question for you, and it's an actual question, like a real one, like not a funny joke. So we had a question earlier about, does alcohol stall progress? How about THC?
It's a good question.
And for anybody who does not know, that's the psychoactive component in cannabis.
Tetrahydrocannabidiol?
Yes.
Is that what that stands for?
Yep.
So there's not a lot of research on it that
right.
I'm aware of.
There's not.
From a actual just strict metabolic standpoint, I don't think there's much to it in terms of weight loss or weight gain.
Right. Or muscle. How about muscle growth?
That's a question I don't have any evidence of whatsoever. Now for weight management,
not good.
This is what I know from anecdotal experience working with clients. It can be very effective for weight loss in some circumstances. Some people, clients that I've known, not under the direction of me, but they've done this in their previous lives, is they can use it as a way to sustain very high volume cardiovascular exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a handful of people who've had a substantial amount of weight to lose and have used it as a way to basically they take it, they can get on the elliptical for 4 hours and just go. Mm-hmm. Conversely, there's some evidence to suggest that it does change eating behaviors. So kind of the munchies, etc. Yeah. There is some evidence to suggest that is true. So it really kind of depends on how it's dictating and changing your overall habits and behaviors.
Yeah, that Mike, I think it was Mike T. Nelson that put out a big blog post about it like a year ago. And there was no, at that time, I can't remember if it was Mike for certain, but somebody in the evidence-based community who's, fairly is good at reading research, went through it and found that there's not significant evidence. There's no evidence, at least that we know of yet, that it inhibits muscle growth, that it affects weight loss or gain outside of what you said, the mental aspect, because it's a psychoactive drug. So your inabilities are your what's the word I'm looking for? Not inabilities. Your
inhibition.
Your willpower. That's the one I'm looking for. Your willpower is diminished. But that's an interesting one. With the one that I always found interesting, and I agree with, is the getting on a treadmill, because you get whatever. It's the exact same thing for anybody who's thinking, how the hell could pot do this? There's two things I want to add, and then we'll get to this last question, and that's if you think of the typical person who smokes pot and you're thinking they just sit at home and play video games, it's because they're focused on one thing. And it's a mindless activity you can focus on, and getting on an elliptical is the exact same thing. Because I know people who do the exact same thing. It's actually a lot more common in bodybuilding circles, I think, than people think. They'll smoke, they're away from food, they're at the gym, or they'll ingest whatever. They go do an elliptical for 3 hours, and it's just mindless. I would not recommend running on a street while on it, because you're impaired. But they'll be at a gym or at home for 2 or 3 hours while it wears off. and it's mindless, and they're away from food. The other one that I did not know was really big, is a really big thing. Did you know that it's really common in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu circles to practice while high?
Yeah, I didn't know that was a big thing.
I did not until recently, and that kind of was like, wow, really? And that's because they can be more focused on the they don't do it while they're brawling, it's more practicing, not competing. Yeah. So they can focus on the movements and things like that. It's kind of interesting.
I know. I miss going to the MMA gym, but like the reason I don't go right now is I'm not going to go roll around with a bunch of people and get that close, and I don't know where they've been.
See, I have that fear normally in my life with people, so I just kind of got over it. Well, I don't like shaking hands with people. I didn't like shaking hands with people in 2019, let alone in 2020.
Yeah. So it'll be nice when all this stuff is over, so I can kind of go back to some of that stuff.
Why don't we just do virtual BJJ training together? Like, you lay on the ground, you set up a webcam and lay on the ground, and then I'll set up a webcam and like be on top. Like, we just, yeah.
Did you like my moves?
I did. They were sweet. What is the rate of weight gain you would recommend to ensure that the gains I make are mostly lean body mass and not fat mass? I would say no more than 1% of your body weight per month. And you're pretty lean, maybe even a little less.
I'm going to link an article that we published on this topic. There you go. I will give you a much more in-depth answer, and I even made the figures for this paper. So, just so everybody knows, I think that's about all I contributed. So I think everybody else did all the work. Is that
an appropriate rate blanket statement, like the 0.5 to 1% of body weight per month?
Yeah, that's about right. I would say the more advanced you are, it's going to be close to like 0.5%. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody asked, did you have more to add on that, Brad, or are you good?
No, because I'd say that's the best resource I have.
Okay.
People. It's all of my thoughts written down in long form.
Okay. How does the macronutrient calculator define activity? If I'm working out 30 to 35 minutes a day, specifically HIIT, YouTube workout, moderate activity, or walk around the neighborhood, which activity level would I select? So activity level, and Brad, feel free to chime in with a better definition. I would go with activity level for you would be just a regular, depends on your work. If you're active for work, maybe, but otherwise that would probably be in the sedentary category. Active, very active. If you're doing these workouts and you're in the food service industry where you're walking around all day, maybe active. If you are somebody who is doing this workout, or if you're a manual laborer like a roofer and you're running marathons, then I'd go very active.
Yeah. So what I tell people is these calculators are designed to estimate your total daily energy expenditure averaged out over a long period of time. So that's the first piece. The second piece is it doesn't really matter how intense you go. It really matters how intense you go and how long you do it. So 30 minutes of very high intense physical activity is awesome for stimulating like metabolic adaptations, musculoskeletal adaptations, cardiovascular adaptations, but it isn't good at driving huge amounts of caloric expenditure. So I usually tell people, unless you live like a super active lifestyle, even if you're training really, really, really hard and you're like going beast mode at the gym for an hour a day, every day, like if my workout is a 5 out of 10 and yours is a 10 out of 10, but you sit at your desk all day like I do, I still tell people like put in a low physical activity level.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Spora said her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club does not do that, but maybe I'll suggest it. A lot of I was surprised first I heard that on Joe Rogan, who's obviously a big MMA guy, and then I asked at the place that I just started going to and that my stepson goes to, and they were all like, "Oh yeah, no, it's common." And then when I went into, I was talking to the owner. I went to his office, and there's a huge, like, he has like 2 bongs in there, and there's a huge banner for a commercial thing. I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, we he goes, it happens pretty much every night after 8 p.m. here. It's like, oh, interesting. And she also said virtual BJ doesn't work very well. Sad times. We're back to practicing here, but set subgroups so we each work with the same people. Yeah, that's what they're doing here too. Everybody has one partner that they work with. They did virtual. I did come up with a really good idea for this guy. We were talking the other on Saturday. I was talking to him about, they did a virtual thing where they put together all their programs, and you could really make a really quality virtual program that does not exist in the BJJ world. Like I look, he had about 18 of them that I went through that he's paid for, and they were all just absolute crap.
Trash. So,
Brett, I think that's about it.
Well, if that's the case, where can people find us if they want to know more?
They can find us at macrosinc.net. There's links to NutriWiki right in there. They can learn more about coaching, sign up for the 2-week free trial. For anybody on the podcast who wants to watch these live, you can go to macrosinc.net/YouTube, subscribe, and you'll be told when they're live. You can ask your questions right to us. Anybody on the YouTubes or the Facebook who's watching, you want to listen to these on the go without all the video, you can go to macrosinc.net/podcast. And
people can't see my martial arts skills.
They will not be able to see your martial arts skills, which is sad.
Oh, that is sad. And if people want to watch us on Wednesday, where can they find us and when can they find us?
Oh my God. I knew it. That was a good one. That was pretty smooth. They can find us on the same at the same macro time on the same macro channel.
And that same macro channel is
macrosinc.net/YouTube.
Yay!
I got it.
Bada bing, bada boom.
It's Monday. I'm not with it yet, and I had 2 days off from doing these. So,
yeah,
2 days in a row. Look at that.
I know. Look at you.
That's the least amount of lives broadcasts I think I've done since Macros started.
You basically didn't even work at all last week.
Yeah, no, it feels like I didn't, but it definitely feels like I did work. It feels like I worked a lot, but the work doesn't feel like it reflects that.
I feel like 2020 will have aged you and I by like 57 years.
Oh, there is zero doubt in my mind that this year has taken at least 2 years off of my life.
That's very true.
Yeah, I firmly believe that the stress from this year has shortened the average person's lifespan by at least a year.
Yeah.
And most of it's stress that doesn't even affect any of us. That's what drives me. That's what I think stresses me out the most. I'm being stressed about things that don't affect me.
Faux show. That's because you can't do anything about those.
I think it's because it interests me. I don't know. Maybe that's why, I can't do anything, but I want to do something about them.
You need Jeff Bezos style pockets.
No, because then there'd be no F's given. I would just go live in my private island that had a bunker on it and just I wouldn't even have the internet really if I had his money. I would just be done.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like you could do that for like a couple weeks, and then you would be like, okay, I need to do something with all this stuff.
So I would have the internet to like buy things, to like go on Amazon, as we're talking about, to buy things to like for fun, but I definitely would not have social media. Yeah, it would be gone. I would, because I wouldn't care about what anybody else wanted, anybody else's opinions. Yeah, because they'd be wrong, because I'd be worth billions and I'd be right.
This is the hubris.
I definitely would not watch the news anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, you know what's really sad?
No.
I don't know if you've been following the recent updates on all the ice sheets. It's pretty bad.
Oh yeah, I did see that one video of the iceberg coming up and crashing. Did you see that one the other day?
Time lapse of the Arctic ice sheet from 1984 to today. It's pretty crazy. Looks like a giant octopus, but it's just ice sheet.
Oh, send it to me.
Pretty crazy. I will send it to you.
Okay. Well, guys, I think we're out of here.
And we'll see you guys Wednesday.
Or on the next episode if you're on the podcast.
Or on the next episode if you're on the podcast.
Goodbye.